Hello and welcome. It's another month, which means I've got another list of 3D printed stuff to go through. So all of the different files that you can get from different creators for your 3D printing hobby. Now, obviously, if you want to skip to the bits that you like, we've got fantasy, sci-fi, D&D, terrain, and then crowdfunders. I'll have those timestamped below so you can go to the bits that you like. One ask I've got for you lot is to have a vote or a fight in the comments about which set I should print off and either make like a diorama around or a project. Let me know in the comments what I should do. I'll let you lot guide that rather than me choose, because there's just too much choice here for me. But recently I went to Warhammer World with my kids. There were lots of dioramas and I really want to start getting into that. So inspire me. Let me know which set I should do. And if you've got an idea to go around it as well, suggest that and I'll see if I can build it. I probably can't, but I'll give it a shot. Anyway, enough rambling. Let's kick it off with fantasy. And the first one is Sins, which is a new one on here. I think I've backed one of their projects before. They've done quite a lot of Kickstarters and crowdfunders. And they are doing these Chaos Demons, which look really nice. They've got a welcome pack, which basically has all like your main demons. And then this month, as part of their like September, it is September, isn't it? Yeah, their September pack, they are doing all these Khorne demons and also some Khorne soldiers. They look really, really nice. Just, I like the look of them. They look a bit more old school Warhammer. So they will fit, I guess, with all like your Age of Sigmar and everything else. But I do think they've got that old Hammer like vibe going on. I really like them. The renders don't look great. They don't do them justice. But they have photos of like the actual printed models, which is always nice. And the printed models look really, really nice. They look far superior in printed form than obviously the renders do there. So worthwhile having a look at. Relatively new creator on here, or at least in terms of like tribes and everything. Anyway, next up on the list, we've got Rescale Miniatures, and we're continuing with the demon theme here as well. So they've also got a whole bunch of demons. First off, they've got these big old like demony dragons, and then they move on to all like your sort of like Khorne knights. So you can have all like your big old demons of war. Quite interesting. The ones that are like helmetless have these big like horns that are coming out of the head, so they'll match quite nicely with the ones that do have helmets. And then moving on, they've also got like your standard demonies. I like these actually. They're quite nice. They match the current Games Workshop ones quite nicely, but I think they look better. I loved the old Hammer Demons of Khorne, the big, like, thick, chunky demons. And then they made the new slender ones. I'm not a massive fan of the slender ones. These are slender, but they look nice. They're themed very nicely. I really like the look of these. And then you've got a big old, like, dragon creature demony thing at the end. And then, like, Khorne knights on those, like, rhinoceros things. And they've got really weird feet. They're like almost mechanical stone type stuff, which is quite a look. Anyway, and next we've got Titanforge, and they've got a whole bunch of undead orcs, which is really nice. There's a lot of undead stuff out there. You know, you're pretty much spoiled for choice when it comes to undead. But they've got lots of undead orcs, loads of skeleton orcs and everything else. There's a skeleton squig, which looks really fun. You've got all like your standard infantry, like your big thick orcs, but they're skeletons in big thick armor plates and everything else. These boar riders are really interesting. So they're like these undead orcs, but riding on ghost boars, which is really cool. I really like that. It's a fun little thing there to have extra. And then you got like this weird Dracula type vampire creature. And then like goblins carrying a coffin, then a goblin riding an undead squig, and then there's a skeleton squig. There's loads of stuff. Like these werewolves as well. You know, undead orc riding on a three-headed werewolf. Yeah, again, spoiled for the choice. If you want something a little bit different for your undead army, I think it's worthwhile having a look at. Or if maybe you wanted to add this to like an orc army, that could be quite fun. And then have like a necromancer who's commanding them all. Again, it just adds a bit of flavour and flair to your army. Anyway, next up, I've got Vevictus. And I really like the look of these ones. They've got these like lady fighters. And not people who fight ladies. You know, that's frowned upon. But ladies who are fighters. And I really like this. And the reason I really like this, I mean, they've also got some other stuff. They've got this weird old skeleton like playing a lute. And then what looks like Lumiere, with like a candle head man, which is really bizarre. But anyway, going back to the lady fighters, the reason I really like this is because recently after going to Warhammer World, my daughter really wanted to get into like painting miniatures and stuff. There's not a massive amount of stuff for ladies or for girls. You know, there's some things. You know, I printed off a unicorn and, you know, some of like the damsels and princesses from like Highlands miniatures, which look really nice, but there's not a huge amount out there. A lot of sculptors tend to go very pin-up, which is okay. You know, again, that's going to suit some people. Some people absolutely love it. But there's not much in the way of just like natural-looking ladies who are in like either a fantasy or a sci-fi world. So it's nice to have something like that. This isn't like too over-the-top, like absolute pin-up ladies or going out there scantily clad. So I like that. Might have to back it and let my daughter have a bit of a paint there. Anyway, tangent aside, moving across. Next, we've got Highlands Miniatures, and they are continuing with their feral elves. They're doing a whole bunch of dryads, and there's a whole lot of them. You've got like your standard like dryad infantry, and then you've got like your heavier units as well, and then this big old tree beastie giant. They're really cool. Again, if you're into old worlds, you probably backed Highlands Miniature at some point. You know, they do some great stuff that fits in with that whole theming. And then last on the list, we've got Beholder Miniatures, and they seem to be adding another new army. So they must be cycling through like their old miniatures and old armies that they were doing and moving across onto new ones. These look really nice. So it looks like they are now starting to tackle Grand Cathay. I think that's how you say it. Some lovely sculpts. Like these are beautiful. So really elegant looking, almost like elvish armor with these like scimitars, butchering it, but really, really lovely sculpts. I think they look fantastic. We've also continuing with some of their elf type units, but then you've got some more like Grand Cathay inspired things with these like halberds. Again, some more elves. And then they've also got some like, I guess, Sigmar Knights. Again, they seem to be going with that. So the two new armies, I think last month they had like Sigmar. What am I saying? They're not Sigmar. Stormcast. They had like Stormcast units. And then this month they also have some Stormcast, but also like Grand Cathay. And I really like them. They're lovely looking sculpts. I think they're doing a fantastic job of that. So worthwhile having a look at. Anyway, moving across on to the next one. And that is Sci-Fi. We're kicking it off with Arc Villain Games. And they've got dinosaurs in space. I love when you get things like this. Either like Skaven in space or dinosaurs in space. You know, I'm pretty easy to please apparently when it comes to these. But these are, again, they're lovely. You've got all like your standard infantry. You've got your bigger beasties. You've got this big old like, I don't know, absolute mammoth. Not a T-Rex, but a massive beastie thing with these weapons mounted onto his forearms. And then they're all still quite Aztec inspired. They remind me a lot of Predator as well. You know, some of the bigger ones, they have all this almost like what looks like a blend between Predator and Lizard Men. They're just really nice units. And again, if you want something different, maybe to make like a skirmish squad or something like that, I like them. They're really, really nice. Next up, we've got Bite the Bullet and Ashen Armies, and I can't remember what these ones were, but we're about to find out. Yeah, so these are odd. I don't know entirely what they would fit with. I mean, they would go quite nicely, I guess, with like Trench Crusade. You could probably use some of these as well for like your Imperial Guard armies. But I really like these. They're very, very nicely sculpted. I guess like Japanese-inspired like sci-fi units. Really good looking units, lovely looking sculpts. Again, it's not going to be a taste for everyone, and it's not going to fit with everyone's armies, but I do like the idea of having maybe some of these to jazz up like your Imperial Guard stuff. They're just lovely, lovely looking sculpts, and I'm a big fan of them, so definitely worthwhile having a look at. Next up, we've got Daka Daka, and if you're into Tau, then there's a lot here to like. There's loads and loads of like Tau type units this month from them. So as part of this set, you've got like all your Tau light infantry. You've then got some of these like Tau with heavier weapons and swords and everything. They're all modular as well, so you can like swap them out, change out the weapons, change out all the different poses, which is always nice. Then you've got these like little drones, and then this like bigger robot. There's a vehicle as well, which is nice to have. And then you've also got this Saint on a horse, which is quite nice. Again, if you're wanting, I don't know, you could probably use this as like Chaos or Imperium, which is scary when they've blurred the line so much there. So it's a really interesting looking sculpt. I think it could fit for multiple types of army there. Next up, we've got a war game exclusive. They've got a whole bunch of stuff. So first up, there were these like drunk snotlings or grots or whatever, and they are just random and quite fun to have with like your little orc army. They've then got this really lovely, I use lovely very loosely there, this really interesting looking chaos spawn, and it's really interesting. This big like lobster claw, then all these tentacles coming off it. It's got all these different weapons as well. It's a really interesting sculpt. You then got some Necrons as well. So again, if you are looking to add to your Necron army, you know, these are kind of standard, but nice to have, I guess. And then this Commissar, I really like this Commissar. He's like cleaning his helmet and his face mask and everything. It's a lovely, lovely looking sculpt. I finished Gaunt's Ghost now, so anything that is Commissar related kind of piques my interest. I would quite like to maybe get something like that and paint it up. So really worthwhile having a look at. A lot of interesting stuff there. Next up, we've got Gamok. And these are probably going to be a love or hate type thing. They're doing Winged Knights. I really like them. You know, they're a bit goofy, but the knights are kind of goofy anyway. But I do really like knights, and these, I don't know, they're giving me some real like Transformer vibes. But I like them. They're very themed around like your standard knights and what you'd expect in terms of that. Just a lot of armor trim, a lot of like Imperial insignia on there as well. And then they've got these big old wings, but they're really odd looking wings. They're like these big old like razors. You can imagine them as being like these energy wings. And I think a really good painter could maybe do something really interesting with that, with like lightning traveling between them all. I think they're just really, really interesting. They also look quite reminiscent of the Aquila for obviously like all your Imperium armies in terms of the wings and the design of that as well. So just lovely looking stuff. We've also got some like Kroot as well, and then some tanks. So if you need those as well, it's nice to have. But the thing that really drew to me is Winged Knights. Knights, yes, I like them. Anyway, next up we've got Red Makers, and they've got Necrons again. So if you're looking to expand your Necron army, but they have this really interesting battle leader. So again, Necrons, you've got all of that. It's kind of standard. It's a lot of stuff you've seen before. But the one that I really liked was this battle leader for Imperial Guard. Got the big, goofy power fist. And I love it when these sort of models are just a little bit over the top. So a big, boxy, like bolt gun, bolt pistol. And then big old power fist, which is far too big, but amazing. I love it. So a really lovely looking sculpt. I'm a big fan of that. And then next, we got a Wild Mesh. And they've done a Slaanesh dragon. So if you're doing Emperor's Children at the moment, or like your Slaanesh demons and stuff, this might be for you. It's basically a big old Slaaneshi dragon with like a demonette strapped to the front of it, and it's got multiple heads. So you can have like your standard, you know, dragon head if that's what you fancy, but then you can have the sort of weird neck with like tentacles coming out of it, or you can have a double penis head neck. Dragon with 2 penis heads sticking out of it. I mean, that's pretty Slaanesh. The only thing I really dislike about it is the rider. I think looks really odd. I don't know. It comes with other swordsmen, which are modular. So hopefully the rider's modular as well, because the modular, I mean, the rider's pose looks really odd and just not quite right. It just looks a bit rubbish compared to the rest of it. I don't think you have to have it with the rider, which is good. It's fun. It's a dragon. It's a Slaanesh dragon with just lots of random bits, and you can have 2 penis heads sticking out of it if you fancy it. So, I mean, that's what you come to the channel for, right? Anyway, swiftly moving on to the last one on Sci-Fi, and that's Dark Realms. Now, normally Dark Realms, I always pick them up for terrain because they do lots of terrain, but this month they've said in their thing that they want to show off their miniatures first before they show off the terrain. And they're doing these Castra Ultima. Apparently I can't speak today. I really like these. These, they're quite similar, I guess, in a way to ages ago. I think I painted one on a live stream by Station Forge. They did like some Imperial Guard, which are very Roman themed, and they look fantastic. These again, same sort of thing. So it's all that like plated armor. They look very much like some Roman themed Imperial Guard, and I like them. And I'm quite tempted to print off a couple of squads of these, maybe back and print off a couple of squads with these to go with all my firstborn Ultramarines I've been doing. Just as sort of like, not an honor guard because they're not going to be, but to have as like your guard for the worlds my firstborn Space Marines have taken over that leave behind, having these, and try to do some kind of like retro painting scheme for them, see how that goes. So again, yeah, that could be an idea for a diorama piece, having some old Ultramarines retro Roman inspired terrain with these old Guardian standing guard to it. Anyway, you lot are meant to inspire me, not me. Right, anyway, moving on to D&D, and I didn't get too much for D&D this month. I've only got two. First one up is Manufacturing. They're doing these knolls, and I think the thing that really interested me this month, and I knew because I'd been told they'd changed their sculpting style and everything, but I didn't expect it to be quite as different as it is they've changed the style. The art style is very similar, so everything looks like you kind of expect from Manufacturer games, which is good because they do some really, really interesting stuff. But the proportions of the miniatures have changed. So less realistic scale and more like heroic scale. So some people are going to like that. Some people will not like it. I completely get it. It's all down to preference. I personally like it. I don't like painting realistic scale stuff. It's one thing that normally ends up putting me off like D&D minis is the scale is just a little bit too small and fiddly. And especially when it comes to 3D printing, I always find that you don't get quite as good results when you're printing in that scale because all it takes is for a support to block the wrong thing and like it's just a bit of a washout. These look really, really nice. They're giving me Artisan Guild vibes in terms of all the proportions, and I think that's quite a good thing. But again, like I said, they're still keeping that like Manufacturing art style, which is really nice. So you've got a whole bunch of knolls. I'm going to stop ranting about the art style now. Whole bunch of them. So you've got like your infantry type bits you can use there. I really like this Shadow Weaver, this like cat. Looks really interesting. And there's big old like lion. And then you've got these big old Wasteland Bullets, which I really like. And then the big beastie, like, what's he called? Terror of the Waste. Really like that. It's an interesting sculpt there as well. So worthwhile having a look at. Again, if you're into D&D, some of you will like it. Some of you won't like the fact that the like scale and proportions have changed, but I like it. I'm a big fan of that. Anyway, moving on. Next up is Cast and Play, and they've gone for some Jungle Toads. Again, I really like it. I'm doing a lot of painting with kids at the moment and trying to get them into tabletop gaming. And I love stuff like this when it's fun. It's silly, it's goofy, it doesn't take itself too seriously, and this is a prime example of that. You've got all these really fun, cartoony frogs, and I love it. I really love it. Again, some people aren't going to like that art style. It's very cartoony, but it looks a lot of fun. And they're all, when you've got a whole thing of just frogs, it's kind of hard to keep it interesting across the whole range, but I think they've done a really interesting job of that. They've managed to keep it all good fun. There's a lot of random bits, like these scouts here with the binoculars. Then you've got this like, assassin, which looks like something from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And the Frog King getting carried around. There's a lot here to like. I really, really like this set. Anyway, moving on to terrain. And first up, we've got Cast and Play Terrain, which I think is new. I don't think I've seen this before. So it looks like they're doing a whole terrain set. And the first thing they're kicking off with is this tournament collection. And I think this looks great. Again, maybe something quite fun for a diorama or something. You've got all like your tournament tents, all of like the training grounds and supplies, and then the different like fences and obstacle course bits. There's just a lot of stuff, all like the stands and the seating areas. It looks like a lot of fun. You can make something really colourful and interesting with that. Either good for like scatter terrain or really good as well if you're doing like a D&D campaign and you want your players to go and explore something like this. It's just a bit different to other stuff that normally crops up. Next up, we've got Forbidden Prince, and they've got a whole bunch of Gothic scatter terrain. So It's not really anything new, and a lot of people will have something like this already. But if you don't, it's good, because it's basically a whole bunch of Gothic-inspired destroyed terrain with lots of ladders, walkways, and verticality that you can add to your game. So great for games of 40k, great for games that involve skirmishing and stuff like that. So worthwhile, again, having a look at. It looks like it'll be quite interesting. Well, not interesting. What is the word I'm looking for? Easy. Looks like it'll be quite easy to print. That's what I'm trying to say. And last on here is Gamescape 3D, which have got a whole bunch of stuff. So they've got this like really nice looking river system, which would be great fun. So again, if you're looking for something that allows you to print a big old river, they've got it. So big river system. There's a pond system as well, which is quite nice. Also, if you want to make some larger ponds or like lake type things, you've got that as well. And they've also got these like hedges, which is quite nice. And a large hill, which again is nice. I always feel like large hills, I'm always tempted to print some because it kind of makes sense. And this is modular, so you can then put it all together. But then you're also crafting it. It's probably cheaper and faster than printing it. But again, it's nice to have on there. Like I said, I'm always tempted. But there's a lot there. If you're looking for river systems, worth having a look at. It looks like you can make something really fun with that. Anyway, moving across on to the crowdfunding side. The first one up is Modern City Builder. This one I'm definitely going to back. If you've been watching my videos for any length of time now, I'm just going to have a quick bit of coffee. And yes, I hold my mugs really weirdly. Yeah, if you've been watching my videos for any length of time now, whenever it comes to city building stuff, I don't know what it is. I always struggle with the road systems and everything else. I scaled up some that I've been using for like my Legions Imperialis stuff, which is all right, but then it became really thick and they used loads of material. So I only printed a few of those bits off. But this looks like it can solve a lot of the problems. So it's basically all like open lock compatible, which is good. It seems to be pretty much the standard now. But they're aiming to build on top of this. So this set basically includes all of your road systems and like your city tile systems. But it's roads, it's pavements, it's sidewalks, it's like your flat tiles and everything. And the thing that looks quite nice about these is they don't look thick. So even though you're going to get all the basically the width and length and everything that you need to make a big city, they're not going to be really thick. So I would imagine the material usage of this is going to be really small. And there's a lot in terms of the road systems. So you've got like a little parking lot area. You've got these different types of roads. You've got like cobblestone roads. There's a lot of different variation of pieces as well, which is great. They do different sized ones. So you've got like longer ones, wider ones, like little small ones as well. And then you can piece them all together. And then there's a whole bunch of like street accessories that come with it. And by the looks of it, from what I can see, it looks as though they're going to be then releasing in like later campaigns different buildings and stuff like that to go with it. But then you could probably use any of your own sci-fi or modern type bits to go on top of it, because that just makes sense. It can be a flat surface. But I like it. It's definitely worthwhile having a look at. I'm going to back it. Hopefully lots of people back it because I want it to be successful, because I want it to bring out more things like bridges and stuff like that. But it seems like it might be a bit of a niche, but it's something that would suit me really nicely. I definitely like the look of this. Anyway, next, now that I'm done with that rambling, is Province Part 2. And this looks like just a really nice series of modern day-esque buildings. Again, worthwhile having a look at. There's a whole bunch of them. And there's different accessories as well to go with it. So you've got like these little fountains, there's random step ladders, like a gazebo, some bits that you can put outside. Again, it looks like it'd be really nice to do something with. I'm seeing a lot of stuff here that I'd quite like to print. I just need to find the time to. But it's nice, definitely worthwhile. It could probably fit with a lot of things. It could even fit with sci-fi. It could fit with fantasy if you wanted it to. You could make this fit narratively however you like. Next up, we've got Asgard Rising. And I normally don't cover many crowdfunders for miniatures, but this is a really nice miniature set. It's basically loads of Vikings. Oh, door. Yeah, so it's basically a whole bunch of Viking sculpts, but really, really nice looking ones. So they're all professionally pre-supported as well, as you'd expect. There's a lot here to like, a whole range of different units or different styles. I've got to say, their renders are really, really nice. The way they displayed the whole thing is just, it's nice. If you're looking for this sort of thing, then, you know, it'll probably suit you or not. There's also these like trails as well. So you've got this like little tree house, all these rocks, all these bits that come with all different themed bases. A whole bunch of stuff there to like. And last on the list is, once I found it, there we go, the Bluffs of Black Ledge. I really like this one because it's basically modular cliffs and rocks, which might sound really not exciting, but I think it is. If you want, it's something that's going to work for both sci-fi, fantasy, D&D. Having a good set of rocks like this makes a lot of sense because it's just easy narratively just to plonk them down. And they seem really well thought out. The fact that they like break apart and then you can put them all together to have like either a ledge over to one side, or you can have them all together and have like a big circular type rock. You can stack them. They've got bridges. They've got rope bridges. They've got all sorts of bits. They just look like they work really just nicely to kind of give you a bit more theme instead of using boxes and stuff like that for your miniatures to climb on. You could print these really quickly and easily, put them together. You'd be able to paint them really quickly and easy if you, I don't know, just spray paint them all black and then give them a dry brush of grey. You're pretty much done with, you know, very little effort. But to get something that just adds a bit more verticality to your game, a little bit more like corridor type fighting, there's a lot here to like and worthwhile having a look at. Anyway, that is my list for the month, and I almost flung my iPad just then, so I will put that down. Let me know, what's your favourite from the list? What are you going to be printing this month? Is there anything that I have missed? And what do you think I should get here to, you know, make either like a diorama or a project around? And if you have an idea for the project, I do quite like the Imperial Guard Ultima type ones, doing them in a retro scheme, but that might be a bit boring, not necessarily. I don't know. You lot let me know in the comments. Anyway, in the meantime, stay safe, happy printing, happy painting, and all of that, and I will see you soon. Ta-ra!